Hello and welcome, Beate here, the Growth Architect. Today, I am going to share with you what the founders of the futures are and why we are adding this as a new tag to everything that we're doing, and how sort of these developments in the last, 6 months in the business world are affecting how businesses run, how you can establish yourself a business that's ready for the future, and what all the things are that you should and shouldn't do. And hello, fabulous person. Beate here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both, a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic. I want to start with, first of all, thanking you for being here. I recognize that your time is valuable. I recognize that you are listening to podcasts because you are looking for ideas, solutions, for ways to incorporate your strategy with maybe a more spiritual or energetic approach, potentially having a passion or purpose or heard a call, want to exit corporate America, have exited corporate America. We're never in corporate America because it's never interested you, but you are all here for one reason, and that typically is people that come to me know that they're here to do things on a much larger scale, and they do not want to sacrifice their belief system with their purpose, right? So a belief system and purpose is the drive that we feel on the inside that tells us that we're here to do something. And if you are running a business and you're not connected with this, you are in deep trouble. I'm going to give you an example, which kind of stuck with me. I was at a dinner not too long ago, and I sat next to somebody who buys properties in low-income areas, and he really felt bad that he was buying these houses from people that were in these low-income areas and then flipping them and selling them for a lot more. And when I asked him and probed, I said, what is it about it that makes you uncomfortable? He says, well, if they would do this on their own, then they probably could get more money for it. And I said, yeah, but do they have the money to do these renovations? And he says, no, they don't. I said, so is what you're offering, is it fair? And he said, yes, it is fair. I said, well, then you need to focus on your reframe in your own head that you are here to help people and you're here to serve. Now, if you're doing this for profits only and because you take advantage of them, then that's a completely different story. But my example is important because no matter where you are, you can always be attached or connected to a particular purpose. Your purpose, you just have to believe that what you do is within that purpose and aligned with that purpose. Now, if you run a business, you think you're taking advantage of people, it's not going to work really well. I don't think that that's a good energetic resonance. And then all that will come to you is kind of this friction. The other question I got was, Beate, I understand all this resonance stuff. I'm following you, but what the heck do you mean by this resonance thing? So let's go into that. Resonance is like an energetic transmission. So if you believe in Wi-Fi, in Bluetooth and radio, then you believe in energy because you can see these waves, you can see these frequencies. Somebody transmits them and somebody receives them and something happens as a result. Our own energy is very much like that. And I bet you've had moments where somebody called you, right? And then said, oh my God, I just thought about you. So that's an energetic transmission that was just picked up. In business, and after the aftermath of the Palisades fire, where I literally lost everything, I had to take a breath and a moment and say, what just happened? Because then if what I believe in resonance is true, then what came to me was a direct result of something that I must have admitted. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened to me. Or was it just simply coincidence? Or was it meant to be? Or was it written? I struggle with that. I will be honest. But what the key pieces we take away from these catastrophic moments or these transformational moments or these low rock bottom moments in our life is that it is an invitation to do something different. It's an invitation to change. It's an invitation to examine what's really important. What happened at the end of last year was that and I've done a lot of writing around this, where I was sitting in my living room in this beautiful house that my husband built, and I'm holding my granddaughter after a phenomenal dinner, and I look at her and her lips shivering, and I'm wondering what's a beautiful child like this dream about, only to recognize that this particular moment was so important because I was here, I was with my granddaughter, I was my daughter, my husband's daughter was there. So we were around people that we loved. We had great food, wine. Our kids speak to us. It just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's what you work for so hard, is that you have these moments. And then I realized that I was chasing my entire life, a particular place to get to. And then I realized that it really was about collecting these types of moments in life to understand that the journey is the reward and that the journey is littered with these moments. And if you hold on to these moments, you can create more of them, because then that's the energetic resonance. So that's what I was saying. And that was just on Thanksgiving. And then January 7th, everything burns. So this house that's created this beautiful moment doesn't even exist anymore. It's now completely reduced to ashes. The thought about what happened to me is the catalyst to then these other teachings that I've been thinking about. It's like, what the heck is going on in the world? There is so much anger, the language people are using with each other, the MAGA movement, this insanity Elon Musk does, Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. If that doesn't sound like a Hitler thing, then I don't know what. And I am German. I'm allowed to say this, but man, I am looking at this. I'm going, on whether you're liberal or not liberal, you got to be looking at this and you're going, this has my alarm bells ringing really, really, really loudly. Then on the spiritual level, you understand that everything is cyclical, that there's a pendulum that swings. And as the pendulum swings wildly from one side to the other right now, it better behoove you to step out of the path of the wildly swinging pendulum and become more strategic. And I don't want to say go underground, but duck, right? So for all the thought leaders, for all the founders of the future, right now is not a time to go out and speak up loudly. It's a time to get organized. It's a time to understand what you've been activated to do. It's a time to become ready for the future. Because if you are a founder of the future, your job is not to prevent people from breaking stuff, because they're breaking it on whether you like it or not, and they're breaking it rightfully so. But your job is to think about, who do you need to become if you want to build a future that you actually want to live in and that your children want to live in. So there's a couple of things to be said about this. Number one, I am no longer a founder of the future. That might be a hard realization, but that's not my role. My role right now is, as I step into wisdom, as corny as that may sound, but my job now is to take what I know and give it to you. I've been told in no uncertain terms, Beate, you must give your IP to everyone who wants it. My response to this 6 months ago was 2 words, and they were not pleasant. And now I'm thinking about this and I go, I understand what that means. I understand that my role now is to package what I have learned, what I've known, the shortcuts. And I have a specific skill set, right? And I want you to look at this from this perspective. You have a specific skill set. I have a specific skill set. Mine is that I can take who you are, what you know, and I see you before you see yourself. I can take what you tell me and I can immediately give you an unapologetic value proposition that really showcases who you are, and you never even knew how I did that. And I do it fast. That's because it's a skill I honed. It is my super skill. It's something that I've known for. It's something that I've done for decades. It's something that just comes so easy to me. I never even knew that other people don't know how to do it. I know how to do that. So that's what people come to me for. And now in this unique positioning, which is really, really critical in this market, please don't be an executive coach. There's so many of them. I just roll my eyes alone when I say executive coach. You have to have something that's different than an executive coach. Don't be like a business consultant. You have to have some sort of a tag or some sort of a specialty that makes that unique. These are what these business models are that we are building here at The Growth Architect, is to say, you have to be different. You cannot work within the matrix. Now, let's talk about the matrix. I call it matrix for really a lack of better words. The Matrix, it's a movie series that's, 20 years old? And it talks about how things are set in a particular way and fashion, a particular system. What you're experiencing on the outside right now is the rise of mostly the white man to keep this matrix alive. The matrix was built by white men for white men. No man bashing here. It's a fact. That's just who people were that were building businesses, right? Since the beginning of times. And then everybody else was just along for the ride. It never worked for anybody who wasn't a white male. And now it's not working for the white men anymore either. And now they're breaking their own systems they themselves built. And it's like this big, wow, look at this. The systems are so terrible. Who built this? And I'm looking at them going like, you did? I didn't. That would be not even remotely close what I would be building. I'd be building businesses that acknowledge people, that have proper culture, that have all the good stuff that they always talk about. And then the minute they don't have to do it because it's not mandated, they get rid of it. So the matrix is under threat. So they break in their own matrix while at the same time they're holding on to the matrix, which is actually insane. Spotlight, center stage, you walk in. Because your job now is to let this happen. To let it happen. To just go and say, hey, you want to break this crap that you built yourself? By all means, go. It's not working anyway. But people that break stuff don't know how to build stuff. So guess whose job it is to build stuff? It's yours. Founder of the future. If you are founder of the future, you cannot be obsessed with the past. You cannot be obsessed even with the present. You have to look firmly in the future and say, who do I need to become? What do I need to do? What are the skill sets that I believe that are going to be needed for the future? I've had a very interesting conversation today with Vince, who will be on my podcast very shortly. And he said that this mass activation is only about 0.5%. And so there's a really small minority of people that have had some sort of awakening. There are a lot more people that have heard the call, but they don't know what the call means. So if you're here and listening to this podcast, you may be shaking your head at some point. You may be going like, well, maybe she's on to something here, or you may be further on in your self-awareness and you say, yeah, I'm sensing something's going on, or you might be fully aware and enlightened. And you said, yes, I've heard the call. I need to build this business. I just don't know how. Well, you've come to the right place. What we are doing here at The Growth Architect, aside from this soul-crushing task of just letting everything that I had go and coming to terms with what it means to never have the pearls of my grandmother and not being able to give those to my daughter and her not being able to give those to her daughter. That I will never see a piece of a letter that my father wrote me because it's all burned and my father has been dead for 20 years. That I just don't have any of these mementos that make these lives, the meaningful little things, they're all gone. All of it. I mean, I was shocked on how little there was in the rubble. Everything evaporated. When something burns at 2,000 degrees for 12 hours and there's not a single firefight or a drop of water inside, they just let it all burn to the ground, which is just a whole other thing in itself, how that even is possible, but it did happen. So coming to terms with that is a very challenging moment for us. And I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my digestion. I feel it in my head. I feel it like this heavy cloak that I carry with me that I want to shake off. So the flip side of everything is, we've talked about this on the show, is that if we believe in the law of polarity, which I do, the law of polarity says if it exists on one side, it must exist on the other. So if there is heat, there must be cold. If there's white, there must be black. If there is above, so must be below. So if there's destruction, there must be creation. And that is what led me to the founders of the future. It's literally this thought. If this destruction that we see not just for me personally. It was a metaphor of a phoenix rising, which is why I created the Forge, Founders of the Future, because something must rise out of such destruction. Then I look on the outside world and I see so much destruction, and I go, there must be an opposite of that. And I think that's you. I believe this from the bottom of my heart. If you're here, you're listening to this show, there's something that you are here to do, and you've been called. Otherwise, these words would never reach you. It's impossible. So if you are being called to be of service, to step into your purpose, to be a founder of the future, then this is your time not to sit and say, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Taxes, tariffs, economy, recession. You've got to take all of that and put that in the destruction box. That's not your job. That's their job. Your job is to focus on the other side. What are you going to create? What must come out of this? What must rise? How does your nonprofit, your for-profit, your B corporation, your law firm, your brick and mortar business, your coaching business, your consulting business, what do you need to be prepared to help those that are rebuilding? Because you are one of those. My job is to support you in doing so. And that's an interesting switch. Also talked about this on the show very openly about, I turned 60, which in most everybody's book kind of makes me somewhat between invisible and obsolete. Now, I studied the brands of women that were over a certain age, and I looked at what creates longevity, especially for women. And it's not that difficult to see with Oprah and Maya Angelou and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. What they've done is that they connected with this next generation, the next generation, the next generation. So they did not age out with their own generation. They kept aging down with who they were connecting, and they kept adjusting the message on who they wanted to reach. For the last year, that's literally what we've done here at The Growth Architect. Complete transparency. I like people my age, and why would I not? I'm one of them. But what really excites me is if I hear a new idea. I had something so interesting happening. I get a call out of absolutely nowhere, and it's this young man, Chris, and he says, ChatGPT told him to call me. I'm like, what? I didn't know ChatGPT could be a lead generation tool. And he says he took all these assessments, and then he went into ChatGPT and he says, this is what I know how to do. What do you suggest? And, in this conversation, ChatGPT said, well, you kind of like architecting growth. What do you want to do? And he says, well, is there somebody who does it? Then ChatGPT says, yes. And he says, who is it? ChatGPT says, it's Beate. And next thing he calls me, and I said, why are you calling me? And he said, that is a very good question. Now I'm laughing. And then he basically tells me in so many words that he wants me to give him my IP. Again, back to 6 months ago, I would have used 2 words. And today, because I've been asked to step into this, give away your IP so you can help founders of the future, I'm going, the universe really has a sense of humor here. Sending me somebody who says, AI sent you to me so you can ask me if I want to give you my IP. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, is what I'm trying to say. That's resonance. So the resonance is alive. When you are on that frequency will come back to you, and you just cannot judge it. If you ever read Michael Singer's Surrender Experiment, it's all about that. In many of the meditation teachings from the East, when you live in harmony with nature and science and the laws that there are, and you don't offer any resistance, then you are in the flow and things will naturally come to you and be taken care of. If I've done an interview with Bill Heinrich that you might want to listen to when we talk about this, and he says spirituality is the strategy, it's the only strategy that works. Now, back to you, founders of the future. Now, with this knowledge that the old stuff is breaking, that there's nothing we should do to stop this from breaking because it must break, but that people that break stuff don't build stuff. And then that puts the responsibility on us. What do we want? Then I'm asking myself, who do I need to be so I can be of the greatest help for you? So let me take you through this. And then you tell me and reach out to me and let me know what you think of these ideas. I've been for years and years and years looking at internet marketing, and I admire Russell Brunson. I think freaking genius. I think Dan Kennedy's a great writer. I've watched these guys for many, many, many years and seen many of them come and go. But it's always the same stuff. It's a lot of the bro marketing. It's a lot of the, how do I trick people? And then they call it ethical persuasion. But it's a lot about sales psychology. It's not really about resonance. It's about finding out what people want and then figuring out what the pain point is if they don't have it, and then sell them something, positioning in such a way that if they buy that thing, then their pain will go away. That only lasts for a nanosecond, because the truth of the matter is much of these tactics are just that. Jeff Walker's product launch formula, Russell Brunson's ClickFunnels, those are all things that you need when you have the business model, when you've in your purpose, to decide on whether that's one of the tactics or methods that will help you to get your product to market. It is not a business model. And I'm a little bit furious, actually, on what BS I've been listening to for all these years and fell for myself at the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, only to find out that none of this works because it's not in resonance with me. And if it's not with resonance with me, then it cannot work because I'm doing something that I'm not convinced that works or that aligns with me. And I don't know what to do else in return. And therefore, I am following somebody else's secret to success and I fail at it. Well, that is how internet marketing is designed to work. So that way you can buy the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So what should you be doing instead? The first thing is you got in your business model. You have to figure out what your purpose is. A founder of the future knows the future that they want to build. You got to get very clear. What is the future that you want to build? I want to build a future where we work in 3 different levels. So business is not difficult. It takes time and money and energy, but it's not difficult. There's 3 pieces to building a business. You got to build the foundation. That's what we do in Turn Your Talent into a Business, where we take the idea and build a business model around it. And we connect your passion and purpose with the reason this business exists, and mission and vision statements and an unapologetic value proposition, so that you can go out and talk to people about what it actually is that you do in clarity and simplicity and without all this unnecessary complexity. That's the first step. The second step is, once you have that and this business kind of like has proven that it can work, you need to go to system building. System building is when you now design a transformation journey that will allow your client to have an entry point and an exit point. And within these 2 points are multiple paths, so that somebody might go the whole way with you and maybe take 5, 6 steps or programs, or they might come in only for 1 or 2 because they already have the other ones mastered. That's a signature growth system. And that part is where we usually see rapid growth, because when you take what you know and you identify these pieces to help them to figure out one particular set of problems, and each one of these is a transformation journey in itself, that makes just such a difference. It really is a powerful tool. And then finally, the third piece is the piece where you scale. That's when we talk about optimal growth alignment. That's typically when business owners are starting to get toward the $1 million, and it gets really dicey because you cannot continue to do what you do at that level. You're going to have to start to scale in a way that you take yourself out and put the business in place so that there's systems, processes, and you make yourself over a period of time obsolete. You cannot make yourself obsolete in a $100,000 business, but you can in a $1 million business, because you need the funds, you need the process, the systems, you need to have the people that kind of do that. So what we are building now is a SaaS product where I am taking all these processes and systems I've developed and perfected, like in Turn Your Talent, a business. I think we've had over 25,000 people take this program. If I make this IP available to you, then what would it need to be really beneficial for you? And it has to have the back end where the landing pages, the frameworks of what you actually need at that level exist. Not more, not less. Like, more is available if you want to build it, by all means. But to start out to say, here's what I've learned. Forget all of this. Let's just focus on the things that you actually need to make this piece happen. Then when you get in the next piece, then here's what you need in this piece. And then finally, here's that piece. And then by all means, knock yourself out and build all the tools that you want. So it's the back end, but it will also include all my teachings. Now, some of my stuff is priced at the $25,000 fee. What I think that I need to be doing is I need to give you, if you don't have money, but you have time and the willingness and desire to learn, the opportunity to go in and start building it to a point where you're making the money for little money. And as you make the money, you will realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. And then you'll have these additional services that you can then take advantage of and then help you to get to that next level, or you can choose to stay where you are. That's entirely up to you. But each level will have this ability to self-guide you. So I'm taking like literally all these programs, and I'm holding this up here right now for those of you on audio and you can't see it, but this is like the whole booklet. I've created workbooks for each one of these steps. So all of this is going to be part of this product. This is being built. If that's something you're interested in, we are definitely going to be looking for beta people in the space relatively soon. So reach out and just let me know or DM me and we'll let you know if there's still spots available. The other thing that I've done is I've created a accountability group. One of the things that I've learned from all this internet marketing stuff, once again, is that I feel there are a lot of people that have taken a lot of courses, spent an enormous amount of money, and they've done the sales training and then the funnel training and then the traffic training and then the LinkedIn training and then the speaking training. And none of this really connects. And all they want to do is be in an accountability group once a month. So I've created this accountability group. It's really inexpensive. It's called Forum. You can find it at leadership.foundation and take a look if that's something that might be working for you. We are capping each group at 8 people. And then the minute we are at 8 people, we are opening another group. And that is truly peer-to-peer accountability where you meet with others in the group once a month for 3 hours. We have an accountability spreadsheet where you are telling us what you want to measure, and then you being held accountable to actually doing what you said you were going to do. So that's what we're working on. The reason I'm telling you this is, obviously you need to know what I'm doing. So if that's for you, that you feel resonance, that you can reach out and we can see if that's right for you. You can always schedule a call at uncoversession.com. But also for you to see on that I am not just telling you to get ready for the future, that I'm getting ready for the future myself. That I'm anticipating that you will be needing this, and so I am building this so that when this awareness comes where you go, well, how do I do that? I've heard the call and I'll have this ready for you and I can plug you in, because I want you to be able to build these businesses in the shortest amount of time possible. And that's what I'm here for. So that's my update for you for today. That's why we are leaning into the founders of the future. Welcome to being a founder of the future. I appreciate you and I believe in you. And if you have heard the call, don't wait. Your time is now. This is not a moment to hesitate. It is now. You're being called. Step in, lean in, do the thing that's hard. In spiritual laws, if you have heard the call, if you've had the idea, it must be possible for you. And with that, I say goodbye. I'm here to help. Reach out. And I talk to you again soon. And goodbye. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, a comment, and share this episode with one more person so that you can help us help more people. Thank you again. Until next time. Goodbye.